Okay, so I figured maybe this could be an interesting topic for a video because it's just something that I'm dealing with, and I have been able to kind of calm myself down about it over the past while, so I feel like I can talk about it with a bit more of a level head at this point. But basically, I have tinnitus. I've always had it, at least as far back as I can remember. But just recently, it's gotten worse. It's gotten louder in just my left ear. Tinnitus is basically a ringing in the ears, and some people will hear a buzzing sound, some people will hear a clicking sound, but I hear just like a high-pitched tone, and I think that is I think that's the most common type of tinnitus that people get, is a high-pitched tone, and I hear it at about 32,000 hertz. And it would be kind of difficult to demonstrate for you just how loud it is, because I think that would kind of depend on your speaker system, basically. But for me at this point, it is pretty loud. It's loud enough to be distressing right now. In the past, it was always very manageable. It was something that was it was there. If I thought about it, I would hear it. But, 99% of the time I just wasn't thinking about it, and so it didn't bother me at all. But now it's difficult to ignore. So I went to an audiologist about it after I noticed that it was getting a bit louder, and they did a hearing test, and the good news is that my hearing is actually perfectly fine. There's no hearing loss, so that's good. But the bad news is that kind of what that means is that there's basically no reason for me to be hearing this, and there's nothing that they can do. This is also something that it's just not a very well understood condition, and unfortunately there's also just no roadmap. It is either going to get better, get worse, or kind of stay the same for the rest of my life. And that's kind of the scary part, is that I can't really control it, if you know what I mean. Maybe on the surface it doesn't sound like that would be too much of a problem, but I'm now kind of living in fear that it's going to get worse, and so I've been avoiding a lot of my normal activities. I'm a musician, and I play in local bands, and we practice pretty much once a week on Wednesday nights, and so that's kind of not an option for me right now. I can't be going to band practice, which is a huge part of my life, right? And it's not even just that I'm losing something that I'm passionate about, which is music. I'm also losing kind of my social life as well. Also, for a while there, I just wasn't even able to sleep. This has now been going on for about a month, and for a while there, it was difficult to sleep, and maybe you can imagine you're hearing a noise, kind of like Chinese water torture a little bit, where you just hear it and it will keep you up at night. And also, if I were to wake up in the middle of the night, it would be the first thing that I would notice, and then it would stress me out, and then I couldn't get back to sleep, So it was a lot of nights of just disturbed sleep for the first while. I also think at this point, I have developed something called hyperacusis, which is something that is common for people who have more severe kinds of tinnitus. Hyperacusis basically refers to a heightened sensitivity to loud noises and loud environments. And that's something that is now causing me to isolate quite a bit. It's like I said, I'm not really going to band practice right now because that is a louder environment, and I feel unsafe going there. But it does not stop there, because loud environments are pretty much everywhere, and it's maybe something that you don't even realize. I certainly feel like I've become so much more aware of just how loud our world is, because right now, any kind of nightlife I can't do, and I mean, that's not a huge loss for me because I'm not really into nightlife, generally speaking. But again, it is a big part of my social life. Whether I enjoy the activity or not, it is still something that I do to take care of my social needs, if you know what I mean. And that's something that I'm losing right now. Also, just even going to the movies, I can't really do that. I was at a burger place. This was a couple weeks ago. I went to a burger place that I had never gone to, And it's a type of place where they're just trying to create a fun environment, I guess. So they're like playing loud music in there. And so immediately I was like, I can't really be here. And that is happening pretty much on a regular basis now. Like even if a motorcycle goes by on the road, that's something that will freak me out at this point. And to be clear, I'm not like, it's not as if it's painful when I hear a loud noise, and it's not like there's a distortion in my hearing, but it's more just like a fear reaction, because now I'm afraid that it's going to get worse. So I've been spending most of my time indoors now, and I mean, that's not a big deal for me. I feel like I am naturally a bit more of a homebody anyway, but I sort of know like this isn't actually good for me. I'm the kind of person that if I were to just listen to my instincts, I would probably never leave my apartment anyway. But I just know that that's like not a real way to live, and a lot of my needs are now being neglected. Sometimes I feel like I'm being a bit paranoid about it, like maybe if I were to go to band practice and wear earplugs, I'm guessing it would probably be fine. But at this point, I think because it's like a newer sensation, I don't feel safe about it yet, and I'm hopeful that as long as I keep taking this seriously and doing everything I can to manage my symptoms, then I'm hopeful I'll be able to return to my normal activities relatively soon, but I'm not really sure about that. Some things that have been helping is actually white noise, and that is something I've been like really surprised by, to be honest, like how much white noise will help, because what it does is it kind of just masks the tinnitus so that I'm not thinking about it as much. And I guess the course of action, the goal here is to get it to a point where I'm not as focused on it, because it's a strange condition. The more you focus on it, the louder it seems. And the longer you can go without thinking about it, the better, because then you stop noticing it. And it's kind of like you're trying to tell your brain that this noise is not important information, so you don't have to keep telling me about it. You know what I mean? It's a bit of a head game, if that makes sense. And the white noise helps just to kind of make it so that I'm not noticing it. Like I'm still hearing this white noise, but I'm not thinking about my tinnitus, and therefore I can kind of go a longer time frame without thinking about it. I've also discovered something that I find kind of interesting, actually, is that there are people making soundscapes, and they call it TRT kind of, or TRT stands for tinnitus retraining therapy, which is technically a talk therapy for people. Like it's essentially meant to help people acclimate to the sound, and so they can keep going on, living their lives normally. But part of that process is sound therapy, and there are people out there who make these soundscapes that are designed specifically to help people with tinnitus, and some of that stuff actually is very interesting to listen to. And I find it pretty relaxing. I mean, there is one track now. It's like an hour long, and it's just cricket noises with some white noise underneath. And there's also these little blips and bloops that kind of come in that sort of sound maybe like aliens a little bit. And that's what I fall asleep to now. And I just play it on a loop all night long, so that when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I notice is not my tinnitus. It's just a nice soundscape, and that I've been finding that very helpful, and that's how I've been able to sleep a little bit better. I also think it's helpful for me right now just to focus more on the hopeful stories out there, because a lot of people do actually recover. And like I said, there's really no telling what is going to happen. It could also get worse or stay the same, but there are people that recover, and sometimes it will take months, sometimes it will take even years. But the idea that it can get better is helpful for me, and I think just getting offline is helpful, because it's kind of just like anything else. If you have symptoms and you look it up online, it will affect you. You'll run into a lot of negativity and a lot of doom and gloom. So I'm basically trying to avoid that kind of stuff right now. And yeah, the goal is to kind of try to acclimate to the sound, not really expect it to go away, but just get to a point where it's not bothering me as much, hopefully. And I guess really, the reason that I'm making this video, as much as I don't really have a reach on this channel, but I kind of just want to encourage you to wear earplugs, basically. They don't really know what causes it, but there are things that kind of, they can at least correlate as triggers. So obviously loud environments is a big one. Sometimes people say certain drugs like caffeine, any kind of stimulant can make it worse. Even some people, have reported things like certain head movements make it worse for them, or certain kinds of foods. Like some people suggest trying out a low sodium diet. It helps them make it better, For me, I think it could be a result of just being a lifelong musician, and especially in my teenage years, I really didn't know any better, and I was going to a lot of live music. I used to play in a noise band, and I would go to those shows and just wouldn't really think anything of it. I wouldn't be wearing earplugs, and it would get really loud. Noise shows get really loud, okay? And I also think, at least for me, I could still be dealing with just the long-term consequences of my drug use, and it's not that I wasn't ever really into stimulants, but you never know. Like I was taking a lot of stuff that is also just kind of not even on the street market. Basically, it was research chemicals. I was mostly into research chemicals, and so there's not really a lot of information about long-term effects of those kinds of drugs. But basically, I just want to, if I can do anything positive with this, I just kind of want to encourage you. If you know you're going to be in a loud environment, just wear earplugs. It's not going to ruin your experience at all. And in fact, you can buy these concert earplugs, or I guess professional grade earplugs that are pretty good. I have multiple pairs of them, and what they do is they kind of just attenuate the sound, but they don't affect the sound quality. And just bring those to concerts. They're pretty inexpensive, and actually now I'm just going to be carrying a pair with me pretty much at all times. I now have them attached to my keychain, basically, so that if I'm ever in a loud environment, I can just pop them in. Like if I feel uncomfortable, I can just put them in, and it also just helps me feel safe about going out. And if I end up in a space where it's unexpectedly loud, then I'm still covered. I went to a play just maybe a couple of weeks ago now, because my friend directed it and my other friend was acting in it, and so I wanted to go support them, right? But before I went, I was thinking, should I even go because of this condition? Because I didn't know how loud it might get. And but the fact that I just brought my earplugs made me feel safer about going, because I knew that I could just plug them in if I needed to. And it turned out being fine anyway. It wasn't that loud, but basically just having them on me at all times is good. But anyway, I think that's all I really want to say. Just please, take care of your hearing. You don't want this. Okay, you just don't want this. It's kind of derailing my life right now. And like I said, I am hopeful that I can eventually get back to my normal life. Right now, throughout the days, I usually I have a white noise machine in my living room that I pretty much have on 24/7, and then in my bedroom I also have these sound therapy tracks playing through my laptop, so that pretty much everywhere I go in my apartment it's just noise all the time, and I feel like maybe that's a bit overkill, but it is helping me to just, forget about it. And like I said, that's kind of the point. I'm trying to make it so that it's not something I'm focusing on as much. But that's it, really. That's all I got to say about it. And I guess I will say I also got a review coming out next month, so you can, stay tuned for that. But that's it for now. I will see you later. I hope you're all doing well. Goodbye.